Welcome to the channel, dear viewers. Today we embark on a journey through time, exploring the enigma of wealth and its historical contexts. But before we dive into the golden legacy of Mansa Musa, the man believed to be the richest in history, we have a humble request. If you find our content interesting and informative, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Your support fuels our passion for bringing more fascinating historical insights to your screens. Now let's get started. Who do you think was the richest person in history? Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, or perhaps someone from a time long before the concept of billionaires even existed? Scene script. Have you ever wondered who the richest person in history was? Was it Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, or someone else? Now, when we talk about wealth, it's important to remember that it's a relative concept. It can be measured in many different ways and can vary greatly depending on the time and place. Comparing wealth across different eras is a tricky business. For instance, how do you compare the wealth of a Roman emperor, who had vast lands, armies, and treasuries at his disposal, to a modern-day billionaire who has cash, stocks, and real estate? It's like comparing apples to oranges. However, by delving into historical records and accounts, historians and economists have attempted to paint a picture of wealth in different time periods. And if we take a journey back to the 14th century, we come across a name that stands out in this regard. Well, by many accounts, the answer is Mansa Musa, the 14th century African king who was reportedly so rich, his generous handouts wrecked an entire country's economy. So, who was Mansa Musa and how did he amass such an incredible fortune? Well, let's wind the clock back to the early 14th century. Mansa Musa, born into a lineage of rulers, was the grandnephew of Sundiata Keita, the founder of the Mali Empire. But his path to the throne was far from a straight line. Following a series of complex power shifts and family intrigues, Mansa Musa ascended to the throne around 1327, becoming the 10th Mansa, or King of Kings, of the Mali Empire. Now, the Mali Empire was no ordinary kingdom. Spanning modern-day Mali, Senegal, the Gambia, and Guinea, it was one of the largest empires in the world. But it wasn't just size that set it apart. The empire was blessed with an abundance of resources, most notably gold and salt. In fact, the Mali Empire was sitting on gold, literally. Its lands housed three of the most productive gold mines of the time: Bambouk, Bour, and Galam. But it was not just about having gold. What set Mansa Musa apart was his ability to control and manage these resources effectively. Mansa Musa understood the value of gold and used it to strengthen his empire. He controlled the gold trade routes across the Sahara, which not only brought wealth, but also cultural and intellectual exchanges with the Arab world. And then there was salt. In a time before refrigeration, salt was a precious commodity, used for preserving food. The empire's northern regions were rich in salt mines, providing yet another resource for Mansa Musa to leverage. As his empire flourished, so did Mansa Musa's wealth. His strategic control over resources, trade, and commerce led to an influx of wealth that was simply staggering. But it wasn't just about the gold and the salt. Mansa Musa was a visionary ruler. He invested in his people, in education, in infrastructure, in the arts. His rule saw a golden age, both literally and metaphorically. Mansa Musa's wealth was so immense that it was said to be simply incalculable. The world got its first real glimpse of Mansa Musa's unimaginable wealth when he embarked on his famous Hajj to Mecca. In the early 14th century, Mansa Musa, the 10th Mansa of the Mali Empire, undertook a pilgrimage that would forever etch his name in the annals of history. His journey was no ordinary one. It was a spectacle of wealth, faith, and power that left a lasting impression on both the Islamic world and beyond. Mansa Musa's caravan was a sight to behold. It was said to stretch as far as the eye could see, a procession of thousands of people, each adorned in fine Persian silk. The caravan included a retinue of soldiers, heralds, entertainers, merchants, camels, and slaves. But the most striking aspect was the gold. Mansa Musa carried an estimated 8,000 pounds of gold, which he generously distributed along his route. This act of generosity was not merely a display of wealth, but a testament to his devout faith and observance of zakat, the Islamic practice of charitable giving. However, this extravagant display had unforeseen consequences. The amount of gold he freely gave away and spent during his journey was so substantial that it disrupted the economies of the regions he passed through. In Cairo, the capital of Egypt, the value of gold plummeted and the market collapsed, taking a full decade to recover. Mansa Musa's journey was more than a pilgrimage. It was a strategic move that showcased the Mali Empire's economic and political power to the world. His journey was a statement of intent, a message to the world that Mali was a force to be reckoned with. His Hajj was a testament to his faith and a demonstration of his wealth, but it was also a masterstroke of diplomacy and public relations. It was during this journey that the world came to know of the Mali Empire, its wealth, and its powerful ruler Mansa Musa. This pilgrimage not only demonstrated Mansa Musa's devout faith but also placed Mali and himself on the world map. Mansa Musa's wealth wasn't just about gold and material riches. His most enduring legacy was perhaps his investment in culture and education. With a reign that spanned over 2 decades, Mansa Musa had the foresight to understand that the wealth of a kingdom was not solely in its gold reserves but also in the minds of its people. He valued knowledge and education, and his reign saw an incredible investment in these areas. This was an era where the brilliance of the mind was as valuable as the glint of gold. Mansa Musa's most notable contribution to education was the University of Sankore. This was not just a place of learning, but a beacon of knowledge that attracted scholars from far and wide. The university offered an array of subjects from astronomy and mathematics to theology and law. At its peak, it housed about 25,000 students, making it one of the largest educational institutions of its time. In addition to education, Mansa Musa was a patron of the arts and culture. He encouraged artistic expression and cultural practices, transforming his capital, Timbuktu, into a vibrant cultural hub. He invited architects and artists from across Africa and the Middle East, fostering a unique blend of cultural influences that would shape the region for generations to come. Under his patronage, the city of Timbuktu saw a surge in architectural innovation. The Djinguereber Mosque, which still stands today, is a testament to this era of architectural brilliance. Built from local materials and designed with intricate detailing, it symbolizes the fusion of diverse cultural aesthetics under Mansa Musa's reign. His efforts to foster knowledge and culture were not mere acts of vanity. They were strategic investments aimed at positioning Mali as a global hub of intellectual and cultural exchange. The golden age of Mali under Mansa Musa was not merely about the abundance of gold. It was also a golden age of knowledge, culture, and intellectual advancement. Musa's reign saw a cultural and intellectual flowering that left a lasting mark on the region. Just how rich was Mansa Musa? That's a question for the ages. To put it into perspective, we're talking about a fortune so immense it's beyond comprehension. But let's try to comprehend it anyway, shall we? One common comparison is to modern billionaires like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. But here's the twist. Estimates suggest that Mansa Musa's wealth, adjusted for inflation, would dwarf the fortunes of these modern moguls. We're talking hundreds of billions, possibly even trillions of dollars. It's an amount that almost defies belief. But there's a challenge when we try to compare ancient wealth to modern wealth. You see, Mansa Musa's wealth wasn't tied up in stocks or real estate, it was in tangible assets, primarily gold, and a lot of it. His caravan to Mecca was said to have included over 8,000 camels, each laden with gold. And when he passed through Cairo, he gave away so much gold that he actually devalued the metal for a decade. Yet even these staggering figures may not fully capture the extent of Mansa Musa's wealth. His fortune was so vast, it was said to be inconceivable. But beyond the gold and the numbers, perhaps the true measure of Mansa Musa's wealth lay elsewhere. In the end, perhaps the true measure of Mansa Musa's wealth isn't in numbers or gold, but in the enduring legacy he left behind. So, what is the legacy of the richest man who ever lived, you might ask? Well, let's recap. Mansa Musa was the ruler of the Mali Empire in the 14th century, and his wealth was so enormous that it's still spoken about in hushed tones today. His fortune was made from the vast gold and salt mines of his realm, but his legacy goes far beyond the material. Mansa Musa was a man of vision, who used his immense wealth to transform the city of Timbuktu into a beacon of culture and knowledge, attracting scholars from all around the Islamic world. This led to a golden age of learning and innovation that still resonates today. His famous pilgrimage to Mecca not only showcased his incredible wealth to the world, but also helped to establish trade routes and solidify diplomatic relationships that would benefit his kingdom for generations. But perhaps the most enduring part of Mansa Musa's legacy is the way he is remembered. Not just as a man of unimaginable wealth, but as a leader who invested in his people, promoting education, trade, and the arts. He was a king who understood the power of knowledge and the importance of cultural exchange. In a world obsessed with wealth, Mansa Musa stands as a reminder that true wealth lies not just in material possessions, but in the legacy we leave behind. His story teaches us that what we do with our wealth can have far-reaching effects, shaping the world for centuries to come.